Today we are going to have a talk. I'm not going to say the name because you all see the heading or title of the talk. But the question is why we are going to have this talk today. What's the relevance? The relevance is the aim of both Rubicon research as well as our college is the same. And that is to make people aware about the ill effect of any kind of addiction, whether it may be cigarette smoking or any kind of tobacco-related addiction or alcoholic addictions or anything. Because you are the youth, you are the future of this country or of this society. So it's our responsibility as a corporate as well as an educational institute to make yourself aware that whatever you do, whether it is good for you or not good for you. Okay? So that is the aim. So St. Xavier's College, through the IMG and the Rubicon research, we came together through a CSR collaborations where we wanted to make you aware of what are the evils of smoking. And that's why we are going to have the talk today. It's one of the most relevant topic these days because these days the drug abuse, alcoholism, smoking is rampant. And that is one of the primary kind of, unsaid devil that we have in our society, and we need to combat that devil. So that is the joint effort from both Rubicon Research and St. Xavier's College, and that's why we are going to have this seminar today. I'd like to invite Siddhant to introduce the speaker.
Hello everyone. So just to give you a brief introduction about the seminar and to introduce our esteemed guest here. So did you know that smoking one cigarette can take 11 minutes of your life? Smoking kills. We've all heard these messages, these numbers that come in the news. And people know that smoking is harmful. And they try getting out of the habit. They try getting rid of smoking cigarettes, but they can't. Because it's difficult to get rid of the addiction. This difficult journey of trying to quit smoking is known as smoking cessation. We are more than grateful to have among us today Surbhi Sancheti and Jyotika Ghosh ma'am from Rubicon Healthcare to give us information on smoking cessation and how to overcome it. Surbhi ma'am is an alumnus of St. Xavier's College and also the co-founder of Rubicon Consumer Healthcare. Ma'am holds a Master of MBA from Case Western University, US, and a master's degree in economics from Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, and a bachelor's of arts from our own St. Xavier's College. Surbhi ma'am executes numerous service contracts both in product development and supply chain with leading pharma companies and has established robust project management practices ensuring on-time delivery projects. Surbhi ma'am and Rubicon Research is responsible for developing and bringing to market innovative and science-led quality healthcare products. Jyotika ma'am is the Corporate Communication and Marketing Manager at Rubicon. IMG and St. Xavier's College welcomes you, ma'am. Without any further ado, I would like to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much for this kind introduction. And just before I start my talk regarding smoking cessation, just want to know the motivation of the crowd. Why are they here? Because it's such a supposedly preachy topic, smoking cessation. So if somebody can just say, maybe other than that IMG made it compulsory for some of you to be here. The only reason why I ask is because, if there are any concerns, queries, just curiosity-related questions, I can tailor the conversation accordingly. But if there's none, and if it's IMG coerced kind of participation, I can carry on. So yes, the topic for today is interventions for smoking cessation. Yes.
I think the reason I'm sitting here is because smoking has become pretty prevalent in our society, especially in the corporate sector. There's sort of like a culture of smoking. So perhaps knowing about how to deal with that as well as the drawbacks of passive smoking.
Sure. So I think we will kind of address some of these queries in this talk, and we'll take it up from there. But thank you so much for raising that query. Anything else? Yes.
A lot of my friends smoke because they're stressed and they can't do that.
Yes, that's true. So
Let's see.
yes, we can definitely again touch base. The whole idea of this talk is to create awareness regarding what are the different avenues, what courses people are taking, and even as a consumer healthcare company, we are not saying, we don't go preaching about, hey, this is not good for you, this is bad for you, don't do this, stop that. See, finally at the end of the day, it's individual choice. Okay, everybody is mature enough to make their own choices. Everybody's educated, everybody knows what's best for them. But I think our responsibility is to put out all the options that are available, and then let the individual take their course. So I think we start with the good news that smoking rates are on a decline in India, also as they are in the US. So smoking was much more prevalent perhaps when I was in this college 20 years ago than perhaps it is today. This is just by the numbers that are put up by the government of India. There has been a lot of policy thrust in India as well as several leading countries in the world. So from a public policy perspective, you cannot smoke in public places. You go to concerts, you go to restaurants, you go to airports and such kind of places, you are banned from smoking. So there is a lot of government-led initiative. The government of India has put together a lot of kind of measures for discouraging addiction, different kinds of addiction, and smoking as one of them. So tobacco consumption, because smoking is one way of consuming tobacco. There's a lot of other ways of consuming tobacco as well. So the umbrella is de-addiction from tobacco. So that is one way of doing it. Also, because we are a pharmaceutical company, we keep tracking what's happening with the other regulatory authorities, not just our DCGI, which is the Directorate of Government General of Pharmaceutical Body in India, but US FDA or European health authorities. A lot of emerging economies in the world have similar policy bans on smoking, and that they are seeing effects of it. So the smoking rates have gone down drastically. If you see that it has gone down significantly from a statistical perspective, from they were in 40 mid 40 percentages to around 25-26 percentage points right now. So that is actually a very good news. So that means that policy works. Because there are so many prongs of how do you make a policy effective, that works, and we are seeing the effects of that. To your point, madam, somebody just raised this question that smoking starts as a way for experimenting, to fit in, and it continues as a tool to manage stress, because when you start, most of the adolescents, the smoking habit starts in adolescence, well before the age of 18, perhaps 16, 17. You do it because your friends are doing it, you do it because you want to hang out with a certain group of people, you do it because you want to fit in, etc. So, it's natural, and it does happen. We all go through several experimentation processes when we are in, those late teens and early 20s, because that is the time to experiment. And it does happen, so there's no denying the fact that, this is the time when most people get, their first taste of several addictions, amongst them smoking. And also, this addiction has found different ways. So earlier it used to be just cigarettes, the plain, regular, classical cigarettes. But now there are so many new ways to, vape. So you have Joule, you have, your Velo, and you have so many other things of how do you take in your intake of nicotine per se. So different ways, electronic vapes, classical vapes, smokeless vapes, and things like that. So different mechanisms are coming in, and people are getting their hands on different kind of ways to smoke and ingest nicotine. But there are also complications associated with smoking, which a lot of us know. So it's not just lung cancer. Though most of us have seen all these images when the movie begins in the theaters of Sukesh or Rakesh getting that lung cancer, and those really gory images of somebody having mouth cancer and things like that. But it's not just limited to those images are of course there for a reason to discourage people and to just show that how ghastly the consequences can be. But smoking has a lot of complications in, systemically in your body. So not just associated with your mouth or your lungs, but it can affect your eyes, it can affect your pancreas, it can affect your colon, you can, and it can give a lot of complications in subpopulations as well. Like suppose you're a pregnant woman and you're smoking, so it can lead to several subpopulation complications as well. Also, one of the big problems of smoking is that not only it affects you, but it also affects all your near and dear ones. Passive smoking, as you may have heard, is more dangerous than active smoking because it affects your entire family, psychologically, physiologically, both. Of course, you use it as a tool to manage stress, but it's a vicious cycle because smoking ruins your health so much that it becomes a stress for your family. How do you manage, this habit of this person who's a smoker? Also, there are a lot of cultural and corporate changes that we are seeing. The big tobacco companies, because there has been so much pressure from the health authorities like the US FDA and the EMEA, Health Canada, TGA, on kind of banning cigarettes or discouraging use of cigarettes by other things like levying a lot of taxes, duties on the consumption of cigarettes. So a lot of economic kind of disincentives, so as to speak, for smoking. So and also a lot of bad press for these companies who are, because basically these are all the companies who've been promoting tobacco. These are the big large tobacco lobbies in the world. So they have now started taking the more moderate route of encouraging people to smoke. So they're not going and saying that, okay, the Marlboro Man and that kind of imagery that used to be displayed to people, that it is very macho to smoke, you have control over your life and this and that, and you have super powers if you smoke, etc. So now they are taking a more moderate view of saying that, oh, you know what, we have now this low nicotine smoking, smokeless products, sort of things, alternatives. But yes, from a physiological perspective, less harmful for sure than cigarettes, which is again a positive news, because people like Philip Morris, British American Tobacco, Japan Tobacco International, these are all the multi-billion-dollar companies who have been like the mainstay of the tobacco lobby, taking positions that going into the future, we have established newer verticals for smokeless or very low nicotine content kind of smoking instruments, etc. And which are pharmaceutically healthier than this unfiltered tobacco classic cigarettes. But the bottom line is that all forms of tobacco are bad, whether it is very low quantity or smokeless or this or that. So how do we stop? And these are just some of the disturbing imagery that these companies have used, in order to make it seem extremely cool. So for example, the Juul epidemic that happened in the US was that kids as young as 8 and 9 were juuling in their house, in middle school, even in fourth standard, and things like that. And that had really become a big kind of national crisis in the US 4-5 years back. And when Juul had been ordered to stop production of all their aromatic flavors per se, because they had lured all these young people into mango flavored vapes and some fancy pina colada flavored vapes and this and that. So that was something. And then of course this incessant hammering of these type of imagery, reach out programs to the young people saying that, hey, you know what, vaping is cool. And then, of course, one is you start vaping with nicotine, but then you progress to more harmful substances in vaping. So it's just a habit that gets to you. So then coming to the actual, part of the talk today, that what are the different kind of treatments that are there. So like we said that, we just saw statistical evidence that public policy was effective. So there must be something that works. And what is it? Is it one thing or the other, or a hybrid or a combination approach of several things that probably work? And we have also experienced it firsthand when we did a consumer research, when we as a company were getting into this nicotine replacement therapy as a therapy of interest for developing and commercializing products in this space. So the first part is behavioral and psychological treatment, and this is a very strong motivational kind of a treatment for people to stop. There are several sub-treatments within the psychological and behavioral treatment, like behavioral therapy, cognitive therapy, motivational interviewing, acceptance, commitment, and contingency management and monetary incentives. This last one doesn't work. But the first four are, therapies that in some sense or the other work. When we were doing consumer research, we also saw a lot of people who had been smokers and now who are ex-smokers. A lot of feedback that we got was that they just went cold turkey. One day, they decided not to smoke anymore without going through any of these treatments. So there's a lot of willpower. There's a lot of this mental makeup that helps you from this entire de-addiction. But given that, there are these treatments like behavioral therapy, there's cognitive therapy, which gives you reinforcement and rewards related mechanisms. There's motivational interviewing. There are clinicians, there are doctors, there are just counselors who can do interviews with you as a single person or in groups. So there are different ways of dealing with this. And then there's an acceptance and commitment therapy. So once a lot of people are in denial that it's a habit, that it's something that's so they're always like, it's not a habit, I can get over it anytime I want. But once you accept, that's the first step of getting over something. So this acceptance and commitment therapy is again another therapy in this in this kind of a case. Also, there are a lot of pharmacological treatments, and that's where a company like ours comes into play, because we are a pharmaceutical company. We make drug products across therapies, and NRT is one such therapy that we have taken. So in NRT, in nicotine replacement therapy, there are several options that are available on the market. There are lozenges, there are gums. Those have been the traditional kind of NRT treatments. There's nicotine nasal sprays. There's also nicotine transdermal patches. So there are various options that you can avail of in the NRT therapies. There's also other mainstream medications like bupropion and varenicline, which are again drug substances that help you modulate your dopamine levels in order to kind of talk to those receptors who are, who are nicotine dependent basically in your body. Then there are also modified and alternative tobacco products, and again very low nicotine content cigarettes, etc., which we said that these are the ones that now Philip Morris and BAT and JTI and those kind of companies are now promoting. So there are various options that are open for either moving from smoking to a less harmful sort of a thing, and then weaning off, because NRT always starts like usually if you are and there are different types of smokers. So there are heavy smokers. Heavy smokers are defined as somebody who needs smoke within 30 minutes of waking up. Moderate smokers are smokers after that 30 minutes of within like one hour or 1.5 hours of waking up, you need your first cigarette. So that's one of the way of definition of how smokers are. The second way of defining smokers, and there are different definitions of it, is how many cigarettes do you smoke per day. So that's another definition. So depending on these kind of definition, your physiological makeup, etc., clinicians prescribe certain therapies to you. They can be either one of these therapies or a combination of these therapies, depending on what is your stage with this addiction. And there come in your life several teachable moments as well, when you can, and these are some moments when you wake up to the fact that, this is it, I cannot go on like this forever. Hospitalization is one of the times when, because your smoking will kind of interfere with the other drugs that you're taking. So you don't want that drug kind of interaction in your body, because that's not going to be synergistic for your recuperation. So hospitalization, surgery, of course. Again, if you're smoking, your immunity levels are low. Nicotine interferes with other substances that pre-operative, post-operative kind of medication that you have during that time. Lung cancer screening, yes, cancer screenings can be one of the wake-up calls, and these are some of the teachable moments when you wake up and you're doing these screening programs. Of course, these screening programs are far more common in US and Europe than they are in India currently. Readiness to quit and approach. So basically these are the first three teachable moments. Readiness to quit, approaches for quitting. Ambivalence is basically somebody who is very ambivalent regarding whether I want to quit or not. Again, quitters are defined in various categories. Motivated quitters, non-motivated quitters, just the fence sitters, ambivalent quitters. So there's a lot of research that has happened in nicotine replacement therapy. How do you get yourself out of it, etc. And I think what is important to understand that, this is something that, again, addiction is, it's not a stigma. Okay, so that is the first thing, that it's not like, but I think it is something that you have to think for yourself, that I want to get out of it. Because no matter how much somebody else tells you, it's not going to happen. So it's only when your self-realization happens that I don't want this anymore, I can live without it, basically. And yes, also there are several considerations for subpopulations. Like I said, pregnant women is one of the classical subpopulations where it can, smoking can have an impact not only on the maternal health but also on the fetal health. And it has a significant impact, as we've known from just a development perspective of the fetal health. LGBT populations have been targeted heavily by tobacco companies. And you see a higher incidence in this population towards smoking addiction. So there are statistics to show that there is a higher incidence in this population, but also because the The subgroup has been targeted by these tobacco companies as this is something that is, you have to be in a group, you have to be in a, kind of a clique and a cult and, that sort of a thing. And for me, I personally feel it's baseless, but it's just how it has been projected and marketed. Populations with mental health conditions and co-occurring substance use disorders. So there are a lot of people, who may have anxiety, who may, like somebody said, use this as, and it can be as basic as just anxiety, which can be, classified as a mental disorder. Mild anxiety, we don't even need to take it to major depressive disorder or some such. But even mild anxiety, you need your cigarette to get over it. And that can kind of, and if you are on some kind of drugs to combat that anxiety issue that you have, say for example, you're having a trazodone or some such, nicotine can interfere with trazodone and can have, undesired kind of effects or side effects or adverse event profile. Adolescents, because it's the age to experiment, of course. So it is again a category that is targeted by marketing companies that go out, try, enjoy, that sort of a thing. And there are also a lot of people who are dual-use tobacco product users. So people use cigarettes and vapes. People use cigarettes and gutkhas. People use, different kind of snuff and something else. Patches and pouches, NRT plus actual tobacco product. So there are people who use a lot of these kind of different and hybrid and dual kind of products. Again, that can interfere a lot. And you need to see a proper clinician to get you out of that stage. And then there are some light and non-daily tobacco users, occasional users, just want to give company to a friend, not doing it daily, but okay, that sort of thing. There are also some emerging intervention approaches that are expanding behavioral treatment targets because, as we know, behavioral and cognitive and psychological treatments are actually extremely effective. Sometimes just NRT might not work. It's always going to be a psychological plus pharmacological kind of a dual approach that works. Sometimes only psychological also will work. And that's why there are a lot of expanding kind of studies that have happened in academia, in research regarding what are the newer ways psychologically, behaviorally, to kind of wean people out of this addiction. Use of emerging technologies. We are in an age and stage where everything is digital. You have apps, you have chatbots, you have so many applications that talk to you. So there are a lot of treatments that are happening when so basically these technologies will sense physiological changes in your body when you start craving for nicotine. And that gives a signal to their caregivers or to the person themselves saying that, you are headed for a dose of nicotine. Why don't you do something else? Why don't you distract yourself? Or, give them these sort of those sort of early warning signals. So there's a lot of emerging technologies, digital technologies that can help you, circumvent that situation. And emerging pharmacologic approaches, just like how we have these nicotine lozenges, which is a more controlled way of delivering nicotine rather than an unfiltered cigarette, which you don't know how much nicotine you are consuming. Nobody has quantified it. Somebody has filled in, not somebody, there are ways of, kind of containing it also, but it's a crude, a primitive filter kind of way of, putting it together in a cigarette. But now there are more evolving pharmacologic approaches like NRT and beyond in order to, keep yourself, de-addicted or take you towards that path of de-addiction. I think in conclusion for the cessation programs that are there and the treatments, etc. So these are all evidences, okay, that behavioral counseling and cessation medicine, they increase smoking cessation compared to self-help materials or no treatment. So these treatments are helpful, and we have seen statistically significant evidence that these help in cessation. Proactive quitting counseling when provided alone or in combination with cessation increases smoking cessation. So if somebody, if you go through a counselor or, even a very informal counseling at home along with some NRT treatment or some cessation medicines will help you quit. Life events, so there is again evidence that certain life events, have helped in smoking cessation. And combining short-term and long-acting forms of nicotine replacement therapy increases smoking cessation compared to using single forms of NRT. So again, it again depends on what stage of addiction you are in, or what type of smoker you are, and what kind of cessation treatment you need to get over that smoking, kind of a thing. So these are some of the conclusions that we have seen that are there. And this is just, like I said, the National Tobacco Program, Control Program. The Government of India has also taken a lot of steps to create awareness about the harmful effects of tobacco. And in India, there are just like too many products of tobacco, crude tobacco, that are floating around, because it's also cultural, right? Tobacco consumption is extremely cultural in several parts of India. Also reduce the production and supply of tobacco products. There is a effective campaign towards, kind of mitigating that, the source of it, mitigating this product at the source. Ensure effective implementation of the provisions of that cigarettes and other tobacco products prohibition, so that we cannot advertise tobacco products. You always have to say smoking kills or some such, so there's a lot of ban on outreach of these tobacco products to the youth. Help the people quit tobacco use and facilitate implementations and strategies advocated by WHO Framework Convention of Tobacco Control. Again, this is just a structure, but just to say that it is widely implemented in our country. And in Mumbai, there's a very active cell in Tata Memorial Center, because it's also a cancer hospital, and a lot of tobacco-related use finally kind of manifests in some or the other type of cancer, which is why Tata Memorial Center in Mumbai has taken a lead in putting together counseling cells as well as treatment for smokers. And this is a little bit about what we do at Rubicon. So our product is Bounce Nicotine Lozenge. It's one of the NRT products that we spoke about. We are the #2 producer of nicotine lozenge in the US. We have US FDA approved facilities in India which supply to the US, and the product that we supply into India also comes from the same US FDA facility. So when we started this Rubicon Consumer during the pandemic, I think we were very clear that we didn't want to have two kind of standards of quality, one for the American public and one for the Indian public. Because the Indian quality standards are very different from the US FDA approved quality standards, and a lot of medicines that we get in India do not come from US FDA approved facilities for economic reasons and pricing reasons. But I think when we started this company, we said that we are going to give to the Indian consumer the same quality of the product that we give to the American consumer, and we're not going to do any differentiation in that. So the product that you see in the market from Rubicon is developed by Rubicon and manufactured by Rubicon in a US FDA facility, and it complies with the US Pharmacopoeia. So right, we are partners to companies like Rite Aid, Cardinal Health, Walgreens. These are all some of our commercial partners in the US on this product as well as other products. And we have this product in 3 flavors, cherry, cinnamon, and mint. And like I said, they're identical to the US product, same standards, same ingredients, same manufacturing site. You go through our patient information leaflet, you will see a schedule for how to get off smoking. It's a week-wise schedule that we have provided. So right, so this is just about the lozenges. And the consumer division of Rubicon Research is basically a division of, it basically operates in the OTC, over-the-counter space. Our parent company is Rubicon Research, which is a pure play pharmaceutical B2B kind of a company. And it's a 20-year-old company. We've developed drug products for several leading organizations like GSK, Novartis, Pfizer, Merck, etc. And yeah, a lot of US regulatory kind of experience, and our facilities, like I said, have global regulatory approvals, including those from the US FDA, EMEA, WHO. We are majority owned by a private equity company called General Atlantic Partners. So I think that's about it regarding bounce and smoking cessation. So thank you so much. Since it is, we cannot sample bounce because also it is a nicotine product. I'm just going to show this, that this is how it looks. It's available on Amazon. It's available at several outlets like Wellness Forever, Noble, and Pills and More, etc. But primarily available on Amazon because most people are on Amazon. We're bound by government restrictions, cannot sample, but this is how it looks. And you have to be over 18 to buy the product.
Hopefully we are.
There is, however, another product that we have that we've got from the consumer division. And since we are actually a drug delivery technology company and nicotine is one of the products, but we have a range of several other products. We have something that we have made which has which is quite different from a lot of other products that are there. I will have to demo it because it's a category creation kind of a product. It's called Tasmint. It is India's first edible mouthwash, and it's something that I think some of you are handing over the samples to everybody. Once everybody's got the sample, I'll just demo how to use it.
I'll go with the
Kindly do not consume it, okay? Don't consume this Tasmint till I tell you to, because it has a way of how do you consume. And since it's a very new product in India, while it says that it is mint in the name, it is not really a mint, it is actually a mouth cleanser. The reason why we call it mint is because it's just to suggest that it is safe to swallow, because usually with a mouthwash you expel the liquid out. And with a mint, you obviously ingest it.
Good morning.
So we have this product in 3 flavors. We have it in green apple, cinnamon, we have it in Japanese matcha, and we have it in fennel mint.
सब दे देंगे
So basically, it's a oral hygiene product, and it is something that when we do a lot of consumer, we do a lot of how do you say, consumer focus group studies to see what is it that what is it that the consumer is looking for, etc. And one of the needs of the market that came through was, we need something for oral hygiene which can be easy, on the go, not a liquid, but it should clean my mouth. It should not just be something that kind of masks odor, but it should eliminate odor. So with that in mind, this is something that we made. So we developed it at Rubicon. It's basically a tablet. If you open it, it looks like a tablet, but it has a lot of functional excipients in it. So a lot of these excipients, or inactive ingredients as you call it, what they will do is that they will clean your mouth. There are micro scrubbers which will dislodge food particles from your teeth. There are also moisturizers incorporated which will rehydrate your oral cavity and balance your oral pH. And it removes the biofilm from your teeth. And once you've had this product, you will have up to 4 hours of freshness in your mouth. So that's a very long lasting freshness. But here's the way how you need to use it. So just watch. There's also a little card in it which tells you how to use it. So basically you take the product, you put it in your mouth, and don't put it in your mouth yet, let me just explain. You chew it, you crush it into a powder, you chew it into a powder for 30 seconds, and then you swish it around for 30 seconds. So in the first 30 seconds, it'll become a powder, and it reacts with the salivary gland in your mouth, and it actually activates more salivation because it has an effervescent couple. And you will get a mouthful of saliva with these excipients. You swish it in your mouth for a minute and you ingest it. So it's a 1-minute ritual. 30 minutes to crush it into a powder. Don't swallow it when it's a powder. And 30 seconds for swishing it around. So let me just demo it when you do it. And then you have it after a minute. So don't rush through the ritual. It will still take 1 minute, but you can do it on the go. You don't need a wash basin, you don't need water, you don't need anything else. It will activate salivation. It's a very experiential product. And that's it. And then tell us after 4 hours how you feel. But you have to swish it around. So like in Hindi you say, कि कुल्ला करते हैं, that swishing sound has to come, or in Marathi you say कि सूड भरा, so that be unapologetic about the सूड. This is a fantastic thing for after the midday meal, because usually you have your brushing ritual in the morning. It's good if you brush in the night. A lot of people don't. So you need a midday meal to reset your midday something freshener to reset your oral hygiene. But don't rush through the 1 minute ritual. That's what it is. And it'll take you up to four tablets to get used to it, because it's something that nobody's done before, right? So it's always a new thing. You need some time to get used to how to do it. Once you know how to do it, then it becomes easier. According to our regulatory team, do not have more than 6 tablets in a day. So you can have up to 6 tablets in a day. Don't go beyond that, because the excipients that we have incorporated in these tablets, their daily intake limit is up to 6 tablets. And usually we say do not give it to any children below the age of 6 years, just from a choking hazard perspective. So that's about Tasman. Right, and just another announcement that I wanted to make, and for those who are interested, might get in touch with Jyotika later. We also have several openings in Rubicon Consumer, because this is the first time that we are going B2C. We've always been a B2B company, which is why my colleagues have been pharmacists or chemists or some such. But now, since we are going B2C, there's a lot of other disciplines and expertise in other disciplines like marketing, sales, content creation. Those sort of expertise is something that we are evaluating, and we are looking to build a very strong core team. So yeah, if anybody is interested in joining the team, whether from a freelance perspective or from a full-time, if you're in the last year and you want to look at options after you've graduated, please feel free to get in touch with Jyotika. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your insight and expertise, ma'am. I'm sure we have learned a lot from this talk. We are grateful to you and Rubicon Group for taking time out of your busy schedule and interacting with us. We are also grateful to Rubicon Group for collaborating and contributing to JanFest 23, which is happening on 28th and 29th of January. To express our gratitude, we have a small token of appreciation for you entirely prepared by our reception, exhibition and souvenirs department. I would like to call upon our General Secretary, Gauravi Pradhan, to come and present it to you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would also like to thank our principals, Dr. Rajendra Shinde sir, and our staff convener, Bhaskar sir, for making this happen. Thank you so much.